In England, Wales and Northern Ireland, the open season for shooting woodcock is from October 1st to January 31st. In Scotland, it starts a month earlier on the 1st of September. Wild Justice wants DEFRA to reduce the season or ban it altogether in England. It has collected more than 55,000 signatures to pressure the government to make changes. On his last day in his job as DEFRA Secretary, George Eustace wrote to Wild Justice to say he was considering taking this thinking a step further. That prompted the Times newspaper to report that DEFRA intends to review the list of species, including woodcock, on Schedule 2 of the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981, including what the newspaper claims a government spokesman called the benefits of altering the close season. The Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust tracks woodcock with satellite tags.
I guess I'm disappointed, really. It strikes me from their rhetoric that they're ideologically sort of opposed to the shooting of migratory birds, which is fine. But they've failed to engage with others and really find out, what's going on with the bird. And I guess I'm disappointed because it doesn't feel to me that they're really genuinely trying to help recover the species. They're just jumping on an opportunity to stop something that they don't particularly like. And I'm not convinced that just banning things is the way to get to the best solutions.
Robert Glynn, known as Woodcock Bob, runs woodcock shoots across the UK and abroad from his home in North Wales.
Well, to be honest with you, I just wonder where they get their research information from. I'd love to meet him personally and have a good chat with him, take him round. I'll show him where the demise and the woodcock are, and that would be quite an interesting meeting for him. I've been doing this 50 years now, so I think half a century is very, very good experience. And I'll be quite frank with you, apart from the big whiteout which we had about 12 years ago, when the country was just covered in snow, birds were dying in droves everywhere, every type of bird. Woodcock shooting was stopped. Probably too late. They should have stopped it sooner than that. But that was the Scottish Government's decision because I was shooting in Scotland then, not down in Wales or England. I've not really seen justification where they can come in and stop us shooting at least the last week in November. I would say, okay, the birds don't arrive until the first moon. The first moon last year was quite early. This year it's slightly later. But we don't shoot for at least 10 days after the moon arrives in because the birds are tired. We know they are, and we go out and we do counts, so we make sure that on our grounds there are sufficient birds to do what we want to do.
Well, increasingly, from my own personal experience and experience of those I talk to, those who have shoots in the east of England and those who have shoots where woodcock breed early in the season are very clear that they don't shoot woodcock. It's almost the norm rather than an exception now. To go on a day shooting, I live in Hertfordshire or in Hampshire or something like that, where woodcock do breed, and to say, we don't shoot woodcock.
The UK has a small population of breeding Eurasian woodcock, mainly in the Hampshire area. Throughout the winter, a large influx of migrants flood the country from their breeding grounds in Europe, Russia, and as far away as Kazakhstan. There's no evidence that shooting is responsible for the decline in the breeding population.
Wild Justice is an anti-shooting organisation. Absolutely, straightforwardly and simply. There's all sorts of nonsense being talked about it. They claim to be they're an anti-shooting organisation. Nearly every single action they've taken relates to shooting. If you think of all the problems of nature and biodiversity, strangely, it's only those that are related to grouse shooting, pheasant shooting, and woodcock shooting in this interest, which Wild Justice is interested in.
Stopping shooting woodcock before 1st of December might actually help the situation to some extent, but that sort of decline in our resident birds has been occurring at a time when shooting pressure has also declined, which suggests that there's something else going on. And actually stopping shooting either altogether or before the 1st of December, in my opinion, won't stop the decline of woodcock. We need to do more than that. Ideally, helping them breed better.
In 2003, a survey by GWCT and BTO revealed there were 78,000 breeding pairs of woodcock in Britain. In 2013, the GWCT and BTO conducted another survey that showed that the number had fallen 29% to 55,000 pairs. As a result, and despite the enormous numbers migrating to the UK, the woodcock has been on the red list in the British Trust for Ornithology's Birds of Conservation Concern in the UK since 2015.
The biggest problem is not the shooters. The big problem are the farmers. I'm not here to berate them because every penny counts now, but they're continually ripping cost banks out, taking the type of trees that woodcock like, which is really at the edge of marshes. They decide they'll take them all down. Why? I don't know. The next thing is fox control. You know, I know people don't like shooting that, but we take a huge amount of foxes off the ground. But we've increased the colours. Every ground nesting bird you can think of, to be quite honest with you, and even the ducks, we've increased the population exponentially because of good control on the ground of foxes.
The GWCT says shooters are actively managing habitats to suit resident woodcock populations.
Potentially, we know that a whole range of other waders, curlew and lapwing for instance, are suffering quite high predation rates, and other organisations like RSPB are taking it very seriously on their reserves, instigating lethal control and putting up exclusion fences. It's quite conceivable that a similar sort of thing is going on with woodcock. There is a ground nesting bird vulnerable in the same way. So yeah, I'd prefer a route that engaged with practitioners, that perhaps educates them a bit better about shooting practices, but also listens to the science that we're doing to find a more collaborative way forward.
So far, and despite what the Times newspaper reports, DEFRA has no plans for a ban. It says that recent population trends for woodcock are likely to be influenced by the extent and quality of habitat rather than shooting. The GWCT is continuing its research to understand the species and help protect its future. Shooters play an active part in helping the wading bird thrive by managing its habitats and being responsible about the numbers they shoot, partly because they're not an easy bird to shoot.